What is up, MMA community? I just want to let you guys know that this podcast may have some graphic language that may not be suitable for all audiences. The listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to episode 24 of the BP and Mean Gene MMA show. As always, I'm BP. That's Mean Gene. How's your week been, Mean Gene?
Good. No complaints. How about yours?
It's all right. It's been a busy week, but it came to an end. But here I am with the egg on my face. The worst part of the week. I've had egg on my face all week. It's ridiculous. But Gaethje freaking guy honestly lost. So he lost worse than that was kind of the most dominant title defense Khabib has had. With that being said, the first round was very competitive until the end, obviously, when he got the takedown, but it wasn't. It was enough where Khabib won the round, but it was very Gaethje was not allowing Khabib to do what he wanted to do, and that was get the takedown. He's very aware of when he's up against the fence, but ultimately Khabib realized, okay, if I just fully pursue the takedown, I'll get it. And then Gaethje looked like a deer in headlights when he was on the ground. So, it is what it is, but that's that folk style wrestling. Khabib, phenomenal. I'll let you talk about it in a sec, but ultimately Khabib worked on that jiu-jitsu, and that was the game changer.
Yeah. I mean, what was there to say? The guy's amazing. There's a reason why he's undefeated. I really just could not believe his takedowns. I couldn't listen. I knew Gaethje was going to get taken down. That was obvious, but they were easy. When he got in on Gaethje just fell right to the ground. It was nothing. Yeah, it was crazy. I couldn't believe it.
Levels above. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously, I think didn't Gaethje win the first round on the judges' scorecards or no? Okay.
No, Khabib definitely won that round with pressure and stuff.
I read something. Obviously, I read something.
Maybe he did. In my eyes, watching the fight, I haven't read anything. Like I said, it's been a busy week, but to me, watching it, no way he won that first round. And that's someone who was obviously I was rooting for Gaethje. I had money on the line.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I mean, it was, it reminded me of the Poirier fight. I thought Poirier would have some type of chance. I knew, he wasn't as good of a wrestler as Gaethje, but I just thought, same thing. His power, he would be able to stop some takedowns and hurt Khabib on the feet. But I mean, I don't even feel like on the field a lot of these guys can even hurt Khabib, because I mean, even I know Al Quinta does a ton of power, but even he, was quote unquote lighting Khabib up, and Khabib was just taking the shots, and Gaethje hit him with some nice shots, and he was taking them. So yeah, man, it was an impressive performance by Khabib.
Yeah, it was the biggest thing that stood out to me was that he did do that jiu-jitsu. Like I mentioned before, freestyle wrestling, the kryptonite of freestyle wrestling is folk style wrestling. But the ultimate kryptonite, I shouldn't say the kryptonite of freestyle wrestling, but it's way harder for a freestyle wrestler to keep in MMA a folk style wrestler down. But the biggest problem with folk style wrestling in MMA is jiu-jitsu. And I couldn't believe how much it was more than just, hey, Khabib did some jiu-jitsu. No, like that was very, very advanced jiu-jitsu. And you know what I wanted to throw to you is how much of him training for Ferguson helped him in this fight. Because imagine he knows that Ferguson is training straight jiu-jitsu on him. So I'm sure he probably trained a lot of defensive jiu-jitsu switches. Now he had all summer since he knew it was Gaethje, and he worked on more offensive stuff. But I did want to kind of ask you, obviously his wrestling is his wrestling. We haven't really seen any better wrestling in MMA, but that jiu-jitsu, that was a new weapon. So what do you think of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree. Your video kind of was choppy right there. But, and it's recording, right? Just making sure because I don't see recording up in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
It is? Okay. I mean, that I think that's a good point. Yeah, he probably definitely was working more offensively, especially on the jiu-jitsu. I mean, because he had prepared for Tony Ferguson. But I mean, at the same time, I think it's just Khabib. I mean, this is him. We've seen him. You know, he does have good jiu-jitsu. He has good ground skills.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I don't know what else to say. I was just super impressed by that because
Me too.
You know, up until that point, you know, Ally and Quinta, he beat him right for the title. You know, you figure he was going to beat him anyways. He chose to stand with him, but he didn't have to. And if he took it to ground, he would have, you know, dominated him. So that was that. Then he fought Conor next, correct? After that, Conor, you knew what was going to happen in that fight. You know, Conor has no ground game, so that was a pretty easy win for him, but still a legit name. Then it was Dustin Poirier right after that. Yep. And then so he fights Dustin Poirier. That's the one where you're like, okay, this guy's more well-rounded, has legit power, you know, bigger guy as well, seasoned vet, you know, all those type of things. And you thought I'd give him give him more of a challenge. And for a second there, when he had him in that guillotine, you know, that's probably the closest Khabib's been to being finished. But even that, he was able to stand that. And then he comes in and fights Gaethje, and you figure, man, Gaethje has legit wrestling and obviously crazy knockout power and the leg kicks. That was I felt like that was going to be the X factor. And the way he just ran through Gaethje was like, it was just super impressive, man. Like every win that he's had, it's more impressive. So
it's more dominant each time. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super impressive, and that goes right into the next thing is it's so sad to see him go. I know Dana White said this week that he really thinks Khabib's coming back to be 30-0. I did read a thing from ESPN that Dana White's talking with Khabib's management and stuff. So I just think, listen, if he comes back, great. If he comes back, I can't say I would be the most surprised. It's first of all, he's still in his prime, and second of all, he's still he wanted that 30-0. But if there's in his MMA, everyone comes back. But if there's anybody who I take that at face value, it's Khabib. I mean, the dude's a man of principle. He said he promised his mom. I'm gonna expect he's not coming back, and other than to be a coach. I bet you he will be a coach, but we won't see Khabib in the octagon again, most likely. Unfortunately. So where do you see Khabib's legacy after that retirement?
I mean, let me think about this. I mean, he's probably, you know, he's got to be, you know, the lightweight GOAT. As for the GOAT, you know, that whole situation, that frustrated me a little bit, all the talk. Yeah. It's recency bias, obviously, you know, it's just, you know, the world we live in right now. It's recency bias. I'm fine with him being in the argument, you know, or pardon me, the argument in the conversation. Yeah. You know, if you want to say we can at least discuss it. I don't think you're crazy for discussing it, but I mean, when you break down the resumes of the GOATs, which, you know, for me would be John Jones, like no particular order. I will say who the GOAT is in a second, but John Jones, GSP, Anderson Silva, Khabib, you know, those are the guys in Fedor. Those are the guys I consider in the GOAT conversation. He can be in that mix, but when it comes to like being number one and you putting the resumes up, there's no question. It's, you know, John Jones and GSP shit on Khabib's resume. I mean, there's no question. Yeah. And I mean, I just think I said this to another one of my buddies. People, first of all, we're in a world where people like to troll, and John Jones, obviously, you could tell when people talk about his legacy or anything that he's done outside of the cage. He doesn't get. I don't want to say he gets touchy because I don't consider it touchy. I just consider it him defending himself, you know, and letting people know where, you know, his self-worth and sport. And I just think that when it comes to him, people just like to, they like to poke and prod at him and get him riled up and say with PEDs. When it's all said and done, when you look at the resume, he is the GOAT. I mean, the guy's he was a 15-time world champion. He's done it across multiple generations of fighters, and the cherry on top is he's still going. He's only 32, 33, and he's moving up to heavyweight, so he has a whole nother career. Whereas like Khabib is retiring, man, and I'll just stick to just John Jones and Khabib. I just went through the resume. He fought Ian Quinta for the belt. Ian Quinta is maybe top 15, like maybe 12, 13 at the time when he fought him. Like Ian Quinta's, I mean, I respect the guy as a lightweight fighter in the sense of, hey, he's legit lightweight fighter, but I mean, he was barely even top 10. And then he fights Conor McGregor. That's a legit win. Fine, I'll give him that. And then Poirier, and then Gaethje. So he's got 3 legit wins in a row, and that's it. And then he decides to retire. It's like, dude, you're not the greatest.
Yeah, that's what's so hard about it is all the greats have cleared their divisions, and he's just starting to, and that's the hardest part of it is. It's like you are just starting to clear the division that nobody. I mean, it's the deepest division in the UFC. So for you to clear that would be unbelievable. It would make you the GOAT. And I don't know if there's anyone in the division who can beat him, but you have to take it at face value. You have to take at what the legacy he left, not the legacy he could have. Do I think he could have or can become the GOAT? Yes. Right now, no. And the biggest thing for all those people who are saying, no, Jones is not the GOAT. Khabib is better. He was more dominant. Okay, think of it this way, because everyone keeps talking about the Dom Reyes fight and all that. Okay, if the equivalent of John Jones or of Khabib retiring right now would be John Jones retiring after he beat Rashad Evans. Yeah. He had finished every fight. That was his 4th title fight, his 3rd title defense, the same exact thing. So look back, put some context to it, and look at that, what he had done up to that point. He was very dominant. He was finishing everybody. Then compare that apples to apples, and all of the stuff that he did afterwards is why he's the GOAT. If you compare if Jones retired then maybe you start arguing who was better. Not after that. After that, that's all that stuff is just layers above Khabib. As much as I love to do, I think unbelievably dominant. If you want to argue most dominant of all time, maybe he is that.
Yeah, you can argue that. I'm fine with people saying that for sure. But GOAT, greatest or resume, Khabib's resume, it's not even a question, man. It's not even a conversation. It really isn't. His 2 wins over DC alone, which a lot of people consider, one of the best of all time, is crazy. Yeah. Shogun, Queen Rampage Jackson, Rashad,
legends.
I mean, Vitor Belfort, Chael Sonnen. I mean, I know he's not,
caliber, yeah.
But the Gustafson, beating him twice. I mean, there's just so many, man. There's no question. And the big thing for me, like I keep saying, I had this conversation with my buddy, and the one thing I said, because he was, recency bias and trying to say, oh, Khabib, and he's kind of a newbie or to this, not a newbie, but he's just a fringe fan. And the one thing I just kind of at the end of the conversation just kind of very just said, hey man, I don't have, history's gonna prove me right in the end. I don't even need to argue this shit. I don't need to get all worked up over the shit. History's gonna prove me right. This guy has a whole new chapter.
Yeah.
In the heavyweight division. And if he wants to move back down to lightweight or light heavyweight, he can as well. So yeah, man, it's not even close. Just pull up the 2 resumes. Khabib's, John Jones, go through the names, go through the title defenses, go through how long they were doing it as well. I mean, this dude has literally been the champ for fucking 11 years or whatever, 9 years, John Jones, of one division for 9 years. Khabib's been the champ for what, 3-4 years, and 3 years, and he's fought like once or twice in those 3 years. A year is what I'm saying. So yeah. It's not a question, but
Yeah,
I understand it in that sense. I understand, I understand. So whatever. I mean, it is what it is.
you cut out there, man. This internet is gonna be the death of me. But I heard all the way up to the point until kind of the end where you're closing that off. But yeah, it is what it is. But speaking of John Jones, we do have Adesanya. It's interesting what was happening next. I know you're kind of the one who broke the news to me. I did hear it on Ariel Helwani. I think I just watched a highlight again. I haven't had much time to listen to Ariel Helwani, but he wants to fight Jan Blachowicz at light heavyweight.
Yeah, at least according to Ariel, he had spoken about that. Not saying, I don't know if he's full blown trying to get that fight, but maybe he's open to the fight. So, yeah.
What do you think of that fight?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd be cool with the fight in general. I mean, it'd be cool to see him, test himself against Jan. But in the sense of what happened, what transpired before all this shit, I'm not happy about that. He was for a year and a half going at John Jones going back with him, and John Jones trying to make a fight with him, and he kept saying like, no, you guys are just trying to bait me into this fight. I'm not ready. I want to clean. Main thing he was saying, I just want to clean out my division. I just want to dominate the middleweight division. Then I'll fight you in 2021. And all of us, and then obviously what's been going on in the past month or whatever, few weeks with John Jones, they've been going hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
They've been hard at each other, and to see him now all of a sudden say, "Yeah, I'll move up and fight Jan," it's like it's just not a good look. I don't feel like it's a good look. Only I'm fine with him doing it. I understand why he's doing it. It's just not a good look when you're going at John Jones, who is the champion. And he's saying, "Hey, let's fight," and you're saying, "No, I don't want to fight you right now. I want to clean out my division. I'll fight you in 2021."
Yeah.
And now, a few months later, all of a sudden, now you're okay with moving up. It's just not a good look in that sense. Is all I'm saying. I respect the fuck out of Israel. He's one of my favorite fighters.
Yeah.
The guy's game. He's not afraid of John Jones. He's really not. I'm just saying it's just not a good look in general to be doing that. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Personally, I think it's actually really smart. Number one, this is the time now. I'm not saying he's cleared out the division, but Cannonier was next. Whitaker wins, and then Whitaker is the next guy. But first of all, he's levels above both of them.
Yeah.
There's just not a style right now besides maybe Hermanson that really poses any sort of threat to Adesanya at the middleweight or at middleweight. And with Whitaker being next in line for the title, it makes sense for him to move up. Honestly, which I wanted to get into, Whitaker has seemed very hesitant to want that fight, to call that fight out. I know he finally did. He did
title?
Yes.
Yeah.
He did say that Adesanya was next, I think earlier this week. But I've noticed a lot of hesitance from him. I noticed it when he came back from that little mental break he took. When he came back and talked to Ariel Helwani, he said, "Hey, we're doing. Would you want that title back?" And he said, "I'm just not that I wouldn't want it. If it comes, if I get it, I get it. But I'm just here. I just want to fight the best guys, that type of thing." He was just he avoided any talk of Adesanya. He asked if he wanted that rematch. He's like, it's not super interesting. And then in the octagon, John Anik asked him a leading question. He asked him, who's next? Obviously, you've beaten Till and now Cannonier. You're most likely next in line for a title. What's next for you? And he goes, the job is done. I'm going to go home to my family. So he's been clearly avoiding it. So who knows? Obviously, he'll fight him. I don't think Robert Whitaker, like you just said, I don't think any of these fighters are afraid of anyone. I just don't think he likes that matchup for himself. And he definitely noticed something when he was in there with Adesanya. And anyone who pressures Adesanya, they pay for it.
Yeah.
So that's why, number one, it's a great style matchup going up against Jan Blachowicz. For Adesanya, number one. Number two is once he has that gold, if he can be the double champ, then that's going to pull Jones back. Right now, there's no point for Jones. Why would he risk everything just to give this dude a chance? That's the biggest thing. Jones is going up to heavyweight. Jones is doing his own thing. He would come back down to knock the guy who everyone recency bias at that point would say, is this guy the best? Is he great now? Is he the greatest? Or can he be the greatest? Jones will come back down. Like he has a chip on his shoulder. He'll come back down to light heavyweight and say, that's my division. And he'll knock him out. Or maybe he doesn't, but that's the most likely outcome is if one of them has a title at that division. Otherwise it doesn't make sense for the UFC to book it.
Well, no, it doesn't. But it made sense earlier. It made sense when
John
Jones.
But it didn't make sense for Adesanya. Adesanya had Robert Whittaker. He had just beaten. He had Paulo Costa on cue, but obviously then that shit happened with Paulo Costa. Then Jones had just fought Dom Reyes, so the next fight for Jones at light heavyweight was a rematch against Reyes. So it didn't work out timeline wise.
Yeah. Well, all I'll say is, regardless, I feel like those two need to fight at some point, obviously.
I agree.
And I don't know. Even if I feel like if Adesanya moves up and beats, it's not going to happen. I can tell you that right now. I don't think the UFC is going to allow that to happen. There's too many guys. They're not going to do this shit. There's too many guys, and now that Jones relinquished the belt, there's too many contenders at light heavyweight now. They're not going to muddy the waters by letting Adesanya in, holding up two divisions. Same thing with Adesanya. Adesanya's got, like, when you're talking about the Robert Whittaker, I don't know what motivation is with that talk. If I had to guess, I just think that he wants to get in a few more fights, kind of get back right, and then go up and challenge Adesanya. Because obviously, if he loses again to him, he's done. He doesn't want to rush it like a lot of these former champions do when they try to get the belt back, and it ends up derailing them. One thing I will say is he's looked great since that loss to Adesanya. He looked good. He looked pretty good against what's his face, against Till.
Yes.
It was just more of a chess match, but this fight against Cannonier, my goodness, he looked phenomenal. So if he's this type of Robert Whittaker that we've come to know, and if he doesn't rush in like he did against, in that fight, I just think all that mental shit was weighing on him, all the pressure, and he's like, fuck it, let me just either let me get knocked out or I'm knocking him out.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Yeah, so I feel like now he's back to the drawing board, and he looks better. And I think right now, just take your time, maybe get one more fight. You get another fight and a nice win. Yeah, then you're good. What I'm saying is, like, it can be Hermanson and Till. The winner of that, he can fight for Adesanya.
Yeah.
But right now, Adesanya doesn't need to. He doesn't need to do anything right now, man. I would just wait for Hermanson until the fight, because if Till wins in spectacular fashion, don't get me wrong, he doesn't jump Robert Whittaker, but at least, no, actually, I don't even know. Now that I'm thinking this out in my head, no, it wouldn't work because you're not going to redo Robert Whittaker and
no. Yeah, if Till wins, it solidifies the title shot for Whittaker.
Yeah. And Hermanson, I mean, man, John Jones whoop his ass.
I'm telling, that's my point, that he's levels above. It's just stylistically, of all things, he's just levels above these guys. With Whittaker's a fucking beast at kickboxing, but it's just not, especially a high pressure style. I mean, Adesanya, he does better against those guys. Like a Till fight would be boring as fuck. And I don't think people realize that. It'll just be him against Till would be boring as fuck. It would look much like the Romero fight, but he'd be less afraid of Till's power because he's nowhere near as powerful as Romero. So,
agreed.
Yeah. And I think he might finish Till, but otherwise it would just be kind of a boring fight. Till will get impatient, and that's what would lose him the fight. Whittaker obviously goes forward, so. Either way, my point is there's just nobody stylistically or skill-wise at the same level as Adesanya until maybe Chimaev. Maybe Chimaev's the guy. But until there's a guy who can legit threaten a takedown and legit at least stand with him on the feet, there's just I just don't see anyone beating him. So Adesanya moving up to light heavyweight, especially right now, I think is a good move while they figure out middleweight a little bit, and then against Blachowicz, it just opens a new avenue for him. So
Yeah.
But I do want to backtrack. I want to go back a little bit to unless do you have something else you want to say on that?
I totally disagree with you on that. We don't have to get into it. I already put my point. Just with him moving up to like there's just no point. I know I already said this. There's just no point in muddying the waters of two different divisions, man. Just chill out and wait. You just won. You had a great win over Paulo Costa in October, right? Or was it the end of September? September. Yeah, it was the end of September. I mean, dude, chill out for 8 months. Till and Hermanson are going to fight next. If you have to fight Hermanson, fuck it. You have to fight Hermanson. But to just move on and fight Blachowicz, there's too many guys that like. For me, the issue, it's not even middleweight. It's light heavyweight. There's too many guys at light heavyweight right now. Why would Blachowicz move down and then fight, or not move down? Pardon me. Have Adesanya move up and fight, and then Adesanya too, man, for your legacy and shit. I don't like it right now. I don't like it at all right now.
But I'm telling you, this is why if he goes up to light heavyweight, right, this is the time to do it because he beats Blachowicz. Now he holds that title, and they haven't even booked Ngannou versus Stipe yet. They haven't even booked the fight yet. Jones will come back down and fight him.
100% Jones won't.
No. Okay, then he doesn't. Then he wins that battle, and now he can jump around divisions. It's not obviously 15 pounds is a lot more, but he gets the double champ. The UFC will fucking absolutely do it for that double champ status. They do it all the time. Maybe he sticks around at light heavyweight.
Sometimes they push. I mean, like Amanda Nunes and Shevchenko, they want nothing to do with it. They're like, we've already seen it. We're good.
Yeah, that's way different. That's way different.
No, what I'm saying is with this whole double champ thing, I don't think they're going to – yeah. We'll just see. We don't even have to argue about it. We'll just see. I'll just simply say we can agree to disagree. I don't think the UFC is going to book Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz. There's literally no point to it right now.
I don't know why they wouldn't.
It's only because – well, what I'm saying is only because Till and Hermanson are about to fight next month or this – whatever. This is going to be tomorrow or whatever in 2 days.
Yeah.
So there's no point. I mean, yeah, there's no point. And then you're gonna tell me that Thiago Santos fucking wrecks Glover Teixeira, and then or whatever the matchup is, and all of a sudden Adesanya is jumping Thiago Santos for the title. Like it's not happening, bro. It's just not happening.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Anyways,
how's the time? At least at the very least on Adesanya's behalf, the smart move. So, but like I said, I want to backtrack a little bit. Kind of last thing before we look forward to this weekend is I did want to talk about the lightweight division now with Khabib retired. Personally, what I think the UFC is going to do is throw a title on that January card with Conor McGregor versus Poirier. For better or for worse, I know it's going to piss a lot of people off, but that's what
like me.
that's what the UFC is going to do. So. The argument for it would be that McGregor's coming off of a win. Poirier has beaten Gaethje, and he's coming off of a win as well, obviously, but also had a title shot. So agree. Ultimately, I don't think they should. I think they should keep that title in Khabib's hands, even though he's retired, until they figure out all the other stuff. I think if Conor and Poirier fight, and then Ferguson, and here's ultimately what I think. I wrote this in my article for All Access MMA. Little tournament. You have Conor fight Gaethje, or you have Conor fight Poirier. You have Gaethje fight Chandler, and then you have Ferguson fight Oliveira. I think that's the way to. And maybe Felder if they can't do the booking with Oliveira, but it's essentially a 5-way dance right now, and you need that 6th person to come in. But I think that's the way to do it. And maybe it's a little tournament, or maybe you throw the title on Khabib, on McGregor. Jesus, I can't think of names. McGregor, Poirier. And then that Gaethje Chandler fight is the next in line, and then behind that would be the winner Ferguson and Oliveira. They're next in line. That's the thing. I think it's most likely the UFC does it that way. Otherwise, I don't know. What do you think, Mean Gene?
I don't know. I mean, so yeah, my initial thought is they'll put a title on the Conor versus Poirier, which I don't think is good. I mean, I think I'm actually really pissed off if they do that. And the main reason why is we've seen the history of this shit. You know, when the former champion relinquishes the title, gets popped for drugs, you know, has to take any type of hiatus from the division, it's always the challenger that gets the shot. You know, John Jones squeaks out a victory over Dom Reyes, relinquishes the title. Reyes gets the first title shot.
Yeah.
You know, DC gets his ass whooped by John Jones. John Jones gets popped, gets suspended, and then you have DC fighting Gustafsson for the title.
Maybe you have Gaethje fight the winner then. Maybe
that should be, dude. It should
with that too. I like.
No, see, here's my issue. I'm with DC on this. Besides, DC said something crazy in there. I have to go back and listen again. There's some I did not agree with him on.
What did he say?
Oh, what did he say? He did say Gaethje needs. Well, he says Gaethje needs a fight, and I agree. Gaethje should be getting the title fight, 100%. But then what do you do? Because here's the issue with the whole fucking thing is that you already pretty much have Poirier and McGregor set. You know, I don't know if they officially sign the contracts, but you already have that set, and they want to fight each other. And you know, I know Poirier would take that fight for sure because of the money.
I already know this is perfect. Then you'd have Conor McGregor fight Poirier, and that fight doesn't. Hold on, that fight doesn't have a title on it, and then you put the title on a Gaethje versus the winner of that fight. Then in the meantime, you'd have Ferguson fight Chandler. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, you're saying don't put a title on Poirier versus McGregor.
No. The winner of that fight will get number one contender. They fight Gaethje, and then I like that even better because then you have Chandler fighting Ferguson.
Yep.
And then they'll be the number one contender once Gaethje and whoever the winner of Conor and Poirier is. Once they fight, the winner will essentially face the winner of Chandler versus Ferguson.
Yeah. Okay. I'm fine with that. I like that. That okay. And I didn't think about that. That's the way you do it. That's the way you do it. Just do a little mini 4-man. I know it's a 5 or 6 man tournament, but the ones that really matter or the 3-man is just Gaethje gets the winner of Conor and Poirier, and then that's who fights for the title. I'm fine with that. I really am going to be bothered if they, like I said, they give. Like, how can you justify giving Conor McGregor a fucking title fight, dude? He lost the lightweight title. He lost the lightweight title, or he lost not the title, but he lost his title fight against Khabib. Then he fucking goes on a hiatus for however long. He comes back and then he fights at 170. Yeah. And then you have Dana. Here's another thing on top of it to back this up is Dana then recently said no way that McGregor and Poirier are going to fight at 170. He says, what does that do for the both of them? And what does that do for the division? He's like, you know, you're not fighting at 170 and then going to get a title shot at 155. So that makes even more sense. That's even more reason why, you know, the UFC cannot put a title. And I don't think they will. The more and more we're talking this out, I don't see it happening. And the main reason why is that reason, like, you know, you already said I don't think like they're having issues with Conor a little bit right now too. I don't think they're just gonna be like, hey man, after all this shit, like now we have a bunch of goodwill and now you're set. You know, here's your title shot. You know, fuck all this shit we've been dealing with for the past year with you. I don't see it happening. So
I agree. Plus, it keeps him sticking around because if he loses to Poirier, fine, go ahead, leave. You know, if he loses to Poirier, I don't know if he ever comes back. But if he beats Poirier, which I think he will, I do think, which maybe I should stop picking fighters because then we're just gonna lose. But I do think he's just a better stand-up guy than Poirier. But Poirier obviously could take him down. I don't know. I see it being a barn burner and McGregor getting the knockout. But either way, if he wins that, it forces him to stick around for the title. If you want the title, now you have to fight Gaethje, that type of thing. So at the very least, you'll get 2 fights out of him that year. sometimes he likes to walk away. Once he gets what he wants, then he just, I don't need to defend this type of thing. But if you can milk 2 fights out of him if you don't put the title on the first one.
You're breaking up a little bit. What was the last thing you said? Milks? What did you say?
I just said that if they don't put the title on the first one, they milk an extra fight out of him at the very least. I do think if he wins the title, I think this is the stage where he'll stick around and like legit do what he's going to do. Because I don't think there's as much. Once Makhachev comes up, that'll be probably the end of his reign. But if he does reign at all,
who?
McGregor.
I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
He's got a lot of guys to get through. And that's the thing.
I don't think it reminds me of Adesanya. That like, and I know it's different because I think you have a very a jaded view of McGregor, and for good reason in a lot of ways. But ultimately, he's just levels above these guys in striking, but he can't beat a grappler. And it's until there's a grappler, which is Makhachev is the nearest grappler in that division. I just don't see him losing to these guys. I don't think Gaethje, he won't lose to Poirier. He won't lose to Gaethje. I know that sounds crazy, but it's just he's just levels above them in striking, and if they're not going to take him down or threaten him with anything like that, then he'll just have a clinic.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I don't. I'm trying to think.
And Chandler, maybe Chandler's the one because Chandler's obviously a good wrestler. So
here's my whole thing: is like, man, he fought Nate Diaz up a division. A striker. He got pieced up there. I mean, he held his own. Don't get me wrong, he did. But I'm just saying, this guy isn't. I mean, I like the guy. I watched his rise. I keep saying this every single time. I always have to say this shit because it seems like I'm hating, but it's just it got to a point like this guy just doesn't fight enough to the point like
you don't have to say it. Yeah, it's he. But just to answer your thing, he was a 145 pounder, legitimately at that time.
A big 145er.
For sure, yeah. But he moved up to 170. I mean, that's 25 pounds.
Oh, I know. What I'm trying to get is you saying, like, yeah, he's going to be Gaethje. He's going to be Poirier. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, these dudes are, like, he hasn't fought a striker like that. The closest striker that he fought to those guys' level was Eddie Alvarez, and that was like 3 years ago. This is my whole point is like I just want to see him go through the gauntlet, man. Like just go through the gauntlet. The same thing with Khabib with like
I agree.
He's the GOAT. Like let this guy go through the gauntlet and then see what happens. Like Charles Oliveira probably gonna wreck him. He's a black belt on the ground and he's a great striker. He's turned into a great striker, I should say. There's just too many guys in that division to say Connor's just going to run through him. And why do I say that? Because he hasn't proven it. The last time he's fought 155 was against Eddie Alvarez, dude. Like a chinny Eddie Alvarez. Like you're not fighting a killer. Someone that will literally die in that ring in Justin Gaethje. A Poirier, same way. Tony Ferguson, same way. Chandler would be a fun fight. I think he beats Chandler, but I'm just saying, like, there's just a litany of names in that division that I don't know.
Yeah, listen, I agree to an extent. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think he would reign like Gaethje. He's not as dominant as Gaethje. I mean, Khabib. But I mean, literally the next fight after he outclassed Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez beats Gaethje. And then after he beat, I know obviously he beat Poirier and Max Holloway early in their career, but I just and again, MMA math doesn't go up, but stylistic. Once you factor in the variable of styles, it does add up a little bit. And when you have a striker dominate a brawler, and then that brawler going and dominating another brawler, or maybe not dominating but beating another brawler, then to me it's like I don't know, a precise striker beats brawler every time.
Mm-hmm.
And at the top of the division right now are all brawlers. Dan Hooker, Paul Felder, Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, and then what's the one I'm forgetting? Dustin Poirier. They're all brawlers. So that's my point. Yeah. Will he reign? I don't know. Because then once we see the Makhachevs and the Chandlers and the Oliveira's, once they start steeping into the top 5, then we have some guys that are bringing in interesting styles and changing that up a little bit. But we'll see. We always end up going in on McGregor, but
you broke up a little bit there. Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit. Yeah, we'll just, every time Conor comes up, it's the same shit. Really, literally is. I mean, what do I always say? Just fight the fucking best guys in the division, and that's it. I mean, obviously, I have my opinion on what he'll do against him. You have your opinion on what he'll do against him. The only thing I just want is for him to actually fight these guys, and then we can put this to bed. We don't have to keep, going back and forth. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's a bunch of hypotheticals. It's fun, but yeah, man, it's yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. To wrap up what we had started on. Mm-hmm. With them, I thought they would do the title fight between McGregor and Poirier because they want McGregor to have the title. Ultimately, it would be huge for the UFC. But you make a great point. I made a pretty good point on like why they won't do it, and then you made a great point how to go about getting around putting a title fight or putting the title on the line in that fight. And it's just what you said, just don't make that title fight. Gaethje fights the winner of that. It's perfect. And Gaethje's ready to fight right away. I mean, the guy just got choked out. That's it. Like he ain't knocked out or anything. So he's ready to go. So
yeah, absolutely. It's be interesting. I can't wait to see that all play out because lightweight's going to be super interesting coming up.
Yeah.
But, especially with Khabib retiring, but we got another retirement this weekend with Silva, another legend, obviously in the argument, but not at the top of the GOAT conversation. And man, it'll be interesting to see Silva go. It's kind of funny. So when we look back on me watching MMA, my timeline of Mean Gene over here getting me into MMA, and then. Obviously, the first fighter I ever watched was I went down in the basement and Mean Gene goes, I was 9 years old, it's 2009, and I'm like, I was talking to him about the UFC Unleashed video game because I knew he'd watched the UFC, and he pointed to the TV and said, "Look at this dude, he's a fucking beast," and it was a bunch of Anderson Silva highlights, and at that point I loved Anderson Silva, and then from Anderson Silva came John Jones, and he became my favorite fighter. But the reason I say this is then as John Jones became my favorite fighter and Anderson Silva became, those were my two favorites until Anderson Silva fell off. Jones went against Chael Sonnen on The Ultimate Fighter. And Sonnen, obviously, I'd known from almost beating Silva, and then Jones is facing Sonnen, and this guy Uriah Hall goes on there and does this crazy spinning back kick knockout. And Uriah Hall, I remember being whatever I was, 12 or 13 years old, and thinking to myself, Uriah Hall, this dude's he's gonna be the next middleweight GOAT or the next middleweight on the rise. And then obviously he lost to Kelvin Gastelum in the finale, but so now it's kind of coming full circle where we see Uriah Hall facing Anderson Silva in Anderson Silva's retirement fight. I think it's really interesting. Who do you got in this, Mean Gene?
Oh, it's crazy. I'm going with Anderson Silva, man.
Really?
I mean, my head, it's a heart versus head, situation. My heart says, Silva. My head says Uriah Hall.
Yeah.
I broke it down in my article on All Access MMA, my betting preview already. It is one I am putting a unit on Silva. And how I explained it in there is stylistically, they're the same fighter. They're just, 9 years apart. You have the 45-year-old Silva and the 36-year-old Uriah Hall. Stylistically, they both like to stand. They both like to throw a vast array of strikes, whether it's spinning stuff. But the main thing I would say is they both start slow. They're both kind of counter fighters. They use a lot of feints and fakes to go their opponent into throwing at them so that they can counter. The one difference in this is where I do think Uriah Hall, this is the head part, is the leg kicks. Anderson Silva's had issues, obviously, ever since Weidman in his leg. For whatever reason, he's had issues with leg kicks, man. Whether it's, is Adesanya, in the first round, buckling him. Obviously, the cannoneer, he did some. Still don't even know what the hell he did to him. If he needed surgery or whatever he did, but he fucked his leg up and ended up getting a TKO victory. Cannoneer did over Silva. He just doesn't like getting kicked in his legs anymore. And Uriah Hall can kick. He does a pretty decent job with his kicks. And obviously, if I was his coach in his camp, that's all I'm focusing on. I'm just focusing on, hey man, stay at distance, stay at range, and land the heavy leg kicks, especially in a 5-round fight. And you'll probably get him out of there. I don't know, man. There's a lot of factors on the Silva side. Like I said, stylistically, I think he doesn't have to worry about a takedown or anything. I think the factor of Uriah Hall, this is his idol. I wonder if Uriah Hall will kind of pull up a little bit and take it easy on Silva.
We saw Adesanya.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing is the mental aspect, when it comes to Uriah Hall. This guy gets into his head a lot of times, and you can see him kind of just wilt in fights because of a lack of confidence. If Silva starts getting him to back up, is that the end for Uriah Hall in the sense of, mentally, his confidence? And then does Silva kind of pour it on moving forward? And then the really small one, I'm not going to, I'm not saying this is a big factor. It's probably like 0.001% or whatever. It's just the judges. I wondered too, if it is a close fight,
yeah,
do the judges give it to Silva, because it's his retirement fight. So I don't know, man. I just, like I said, my head says Uriah Hall. I just think the leg kicks will be the difference in the fight. But my heart just says Silva. I don't know. I just got visions. I got visions of him just riding off into the sunset with a win. Right off in, the UFC sunset. Because who the hell knows? This guy tries to pull some Bellator crazy shit. I know he still got fights on his contract, so I don't even think he can do that because the UFC obviously still has his rights. And I don't think that's one dude they're not going to let go for sure because of the name value. So, yeah, I'll stick to what I originally said, right off in the sunset. So I'm going with Silva.
And hopefully he does.
What about you?
We don't need to see the Chael Sonnen trilogy in Bellator, but yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think heart would say Silva, head would say Hall. But either way, honestly, I'm happy. I'm happy if Silva goes away, rides onto the sunset, kind of the end of an era, obviously, even though that era ended a while ago, but truly the end of him and all that he represented for MMA.
Yeah.
But even if he loses, it's passing the torch. Maybe not passing the torch because I don't really know how high Uriah Hall will go. But Uriah Hall has strung together some wins. And we have seen so when Uriah Hall is on, he competes with the best of them, but you never know what Uriah Hall to expect. So maybe if he can win this fight and he can pull some together, and it's interesting. I like anytime Uriah Hall wins. I like anytime Silva wins, but I would like to see Silva win this retirement fight. But like you mentioned, I think Uriah Hall, with my head, Uriah Hall probably wins, and there's a reason he's a favorite. So, but other than that, I think the card is freaking stacked, especially for being right after a stacked pay-per-view card. Usually they kind of make this one a little bit weak, but we got Bryce Mitchell really being tested now against Andre Fili, that's a big step up in competition for him. But the dude's been unbelievably impressive as of recent. So. That'll be really interesting. The other one is fucking Maurice Green against Greg Hardy. Both of them big tests for him. Maurice Green, if he can get this win, fucking huge name value to get a win over when you're both prospects. And then Greg Hardy is fighting a legit prospect as well. Kevin Holland, obviously that fight got Charlie Ontiveros came in and filled in for
Murdava.
Yes, yeah. So I can't think of how you say either way. I'll look at it in a sec. But Kevin Holland, that anytime that's huge. He's another big prospect, and then Bobby Green, Thiago Moises. The whole main card is stacked. Did we lose Mean Gene again? All right. I think might be your internet. We lost him. We're back. Mean Gene's internet went out, and then we were having some issues there. But other than that, Mean Gene, all we had left was if you want to go over any bets you might have had on the card, and then we can wrap this up.
Yeah, a couple things. The Anderson Silva was one. Like I said, I'm going my heart versus my head. I don't suggest anyone else take Anderson Silva. I'm just doing a nostalgia. And then the other one was I do like Bryce Mitchell, and the line's starting to kind of creep down now. It was I think it was like minus 150, and I want to say he was like minus 135 or something now. And then Feely was a bigger under. So, anyways, in that matchup, super quick, Feely is a perfect matchup for Bryce Mitchell as a litmus test to see where he's at.
Yeah.
And they do this a lot for Feely, and Feely's like perennial contender in the featherweight division.
Yeah.
And they normally throw him against young and up and coming guys, and he's young too. He's a young gatekeeper, and I just like Bryce Mitchell. I think he's improving every time out. Obviously, Feely should have the advantage on the feet, but I don't think it's that big of an advantage where Bryce Mitchell can't deal with the onslaught and then get in on Feely. Feely has good takedown defense, and he's a pretty solid wrestler himself. But even when he goes to take people down, he just doesn't have really good top control. So I feel like Bryce Mitchell will be able to get out of that or even reverse him. So I like Bryce Mitchell, man. I believe in the kid. I think he's legit. He's not Chimaev level, but he's definitely like, man,
dominant. Yeah,
he's potentially like better than like a Sugar, and even Sugar Sean O'Malley. Is super good. I mean, he got kicked in the back of the leg, fucked up his leg. We've seen that happen to so many fighters. So, but I think he's legit. I think he's on that level with those guys. So that's one, and the other, just another, like there's a lot. The one thing that's crazy is there's a lot of big favorites, massive favorites on this card. Like at least 5 fighters, or I want to say 6 fighters maybe, are minus 300 favorites, like or above. It's insane, and so I would look to parlay some of the guys. Like I like Yanez, I like Jacoby. I even like Strickland, even though he's coming back off of a long layoff and had and he got hurt motorcycle accident as well. He's another one. Bobby Green is another good one for a parlay piece. So any of those type of guys, you can just throw into a parlay. Do like a 3-fighter parlay. Calling me crazy. I even like Greg Hardy too. I think Greg Hardy fucking destroys this dude. I wouldn't be surprised if he knocks him out. So that's another bet as well that maybe, he ends up I kind of like that bet too, that Hardy wins inside the distance. And what else did I have? Natividad is a live dog against Johns. And I had one more on the list too. Greg Hardy, the parlay, and then I think Witt was the other one. Witt, I think, should beat Williams as long as he doesn't get knocked out himself because he has a questionable chin. So that's about it. Nothing too crazy. My officials are the Anderson Silva 1 unit and Bryce Mitchell 1.5 units. So
okay, it's good. I like that. I love the fight for Mitchell, and Green is coming off of that a weird choke against John Vellante, right? I believe that was the last time we saw him on the screen. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like been the king of quarantine, him and Kevin Holland, like duking it out to see who ends up being the king. Because this guy, Green's 3-0, and I think Holland's 3-0. And Holland's crazy. Holland's like fighting every like 2 weeks and shit. It's insane.
3-0 too.
Chimaev's 3-0 too. Oh wow, yeah, Chimaev is. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
but I think Holland. I thought Holland had.
Holland just keeps like the thing with Holland is Holland.
He's got to be.
Holland just keeps filling in. That's the thing I like about him, man. He's just like short notice fights. He fills in. He doesn't care.
I'm looking it up right now before we wrap it up.
You guys are getting their money, man. I'm telling you, I like this shit. I really do.
You cut out.
Okay, go ahead. What'd you say?
You cut out that whole time, but
no, that's what I was saying to you. Your video, you froze or whatever. No, I was just saying I'm happy that these guys are getting their money, you know, and that it's really that they have the opportunity to get their money. I'm really happy for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is ridiculous, this internet, dude. Yeah, site can't be reached.
Yeah. So what do you want to know, Kevin Holland? I can tell you real quick.
Yeah,
is that what you're asking?
He has 3 wins, but he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, cancellations.
7, 8 fights that are booked. Well, 1 was canceled. So, yeah. Either way, the dude's fought a ton. You keep seeing his name everywhere. So,
yeah.
3 fights or 3 wins just throughout quarantine already. It's pretty crazy, and then he's going into his 4th fight. So.
Yeah, he and Green are, and then Green said that he has another fight booked for December already.
Wow.
Which I hope it's a big name, man. I hope he finally they start moving, because after the John Vellante or after the Lando Venata fight, you know, I thought for sure they'd give him, you know, bless you,
Jesus,
bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought that they would give him a better guy to fight, you know, because he fought Clay Guida, so that was a semi name, and Venata is a solid name too. But this guy that he's fighting, what the hell is this guy's name? You know, whatever the hell is, I can't even pronounce his name.
Yeah, but this one was Thiago Moises, Bobby Green.
Oh, Thiago Moises. Sorry. I was thinking about the other fight where
you're thinking about Kevin Holland, Charlie Ontiveros.
I'm thinking about Strickland.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So other than that, those are your bets.
Yeah.
And I think that's all I got.
Yep, I don't have too much. I'm done. That's it for me.
Not like too much, right? Well, as always, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you, Mean Gene. We'll see you guys all next week.
What's up with next week's card too, real quick, just so we can kind of quickly. Yeah, not preview it, but I'm just saying, just so we can
look forward.
Quickly touch on Tapology. I know I'm ridiculous with this. I should have just done this off air. I just wanted to see what it was. I mean, I know it's Glover and Thiago Santos. I just wanted to see what was the other fight. Oh yeah, did you hear the last thing I wanted to say to you is the Bellator. Did you see Lima versus Masasi?
No, I haven't. I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, it was, you know, anticlimactic. Masasi just kind of grinded out a victory, but so next week, real quick, it's Thiago Santos versus Glover to share a huge fight for that. I think winner gets the next title fight, personally.
Oh, sure, yeah. Unless Adesanya steps in.
Yeah. And then I love the second fight, Ian Heinisch versus Brandon Allen. Great fight. Mm-hmm. Claudia Gadeja versus Ianan Yan. She's 12-1. She's one of the top strawweights. That should be a good fight.
They're stacking the cards now.
Man, this one's better than this one. I think this card is better than the one we're about to see. Andre Arlovski versus Tanner Boser. That's a
fight. That's fucking huge. Tanner Boser. That's another king of quarantine.
Yep, bro. Do you want to see another man below that? Alexander Romanov, Hugh versus fucking Marcos Rogerio de Lama.
Okay,
bro. Oh, there's so many good bets already. I'm looking at on this damn thing. And then that's pretty much for me on my end. What I really know. I mean, there's a couple other guys that I know name wise, but I don't know their opponent. But yeah, man.
There you go. There's
Yeah.
these cards. Usually after a big pay-per-view, they drop off, but yeah, these cards are stacked going in. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, the only thing I'll just say is, and we're already starting to see it now is weight issues though. But anytime they're in the U.S., man, there's always a chance for COVID. That's the thing, like because they're in the bubble over there in Abu Dhabi. Over here, they're not in the bubble. So that's the only thing. I hope you don't get any cancellations. Oh, but anyways, that's it for me. Just wanted to touch on that card real quick.
I like them way more on Fight Island, to be honest. Obviously, I didn't like the early card, but they won't be doing that. It was only for Khabib. But yeah. Either way. Last thing, I was just sitting here thinking like, I just want to finish this, but then now I got one more thing. Did you hear all of the numbers came out for Khabib? And a lot of dispute. So Dana White saying that it was the biggest pay-per-view ever. And then
let me clarify that. I heard that he said it was trending earlier in the week that it was going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest.
What I read,
I don't think he came out after the pay-per-view and said it was one of the biggest.
He was arguing with Showtime about the numbers they released or something, and then there was some issues going on. I know Luke Thomas was talking about it, but again, like I said, it's been a busy week for me. I haven't. You would know more than I would. I've only kind of like glanced at things, but what I saw was that Dana White had said they had 6 million pay-per-view buys. They would have had 7 million had their server not gone out.
Huh.
And then Luke Thomas, then they released some numbers, and it was saying that they only had 500K in the U.S.
Yeah, that's what I saw. I saw it was like over 600, 650 total, I think, and then 500 US. Or I don't know what it was.
Wow.
I saw 650. I saw 500. I saw the 500 for the US, and I don't know if it was 650 total or if it was 650 international and 500. I don't know what it was. I'm sure it'll come out soon, obviously, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me for numerous reasons. I think those are still good numbers.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're a top fighter in the UFC, you're gonna do like 500 or more. As long as you're doing 500 or more, you're good. Especially in this era today, with today's,
to do that on a foreign card and it being 1 p.m. in the Midwest. 12. It was 11 a.m. in California for the card. So like that's a fucking super hard pay-per-view to get a lot of buys for, especially within the US. So it just shows Khabib's star power. Even if whether they had 6 million or 600,000, either way, it's unbelievably impressive for a midday card for at least most of the viewership.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was.
So that's all I wanted to kind of touch on because I remember reading something about that. But other than that, Mean Gene, let's close this off. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you, Mean Gene. Follow us on Twitter. All the stuff's in the description. We'll see you next week.
All right. Peace.
Peace.